Good evening, one and all. Some couple of things that kind of want to bring up later on in the stream as some thoughts. Sundays tend to be a little bit more quieter, and so it kind of gives me a chance to kind of ramble and come up with some better arguments and ideas at times. But that will wait a little bit. We're going to try and get to some art here a little bit more so than previous nights. We're going to start off with this and then get some of that artwork done before the evening is out. The goal is to try and get the sketch finished from the other day and then move on to the next one. That should not have hit that player. Let me double check that the audio is working over here. Okay, it is operational. Let me just reorganize my windows a little bit, and we are good to go. All right. So anyway, we're going to be doing some artwork later on this evening. And we're almost at the tail end of the very busy spring. And afterwards, I'll be able to dedicate more time to getting some bigger art projects up and operational. Right now, this is just an easy thing for those that are curious. Oh, this is not good. Wow. Anyway, this is an easy thing for me to be able to just open up and start streaming and then kind of play it by ear as we press on. But come summer, we have a couple of big projects we're going to be doing. And it should start probably in June. But some of the stuff will begin a little bit sooner than that. Been working on some things behind the scenes as well. Oh no. I know I should have gone inside before doing that, but oh well. I thought I was in an area where, most of the players were either bots or, weaker players. Surprise, surprise. Oh well. 3 players, that's a decent amount. This is the 85.
What's up, Doc?
Not far off to that. The question is that worth it? Nah, not yet. Getting close though. So let's kind of go over a little bit of what to expect for the summer. Because there are some projects that have been put on hold that are going to be taking forefront again. Got a couple of animations, and part of the reason why I need some time to sit down and deal with that is that it's going to take probably about, based upon the last time I did this, about 2-3 days of just dedicating time to getting it all resolved and figured out. I don't have 2 to 3 days really to spare to do that. And once I get that all figured out, then basically I have a render system all figured out. So I can actually dedicate time to making animations and not just have them sit on a shelf and then lose the file's functionality, which has happened before. It was one of the most frustrating things. I finally was able to salvage one of those old projects. And so now my goal is to try and make sure that thing gets finalized along with a couple of other ones. So there's the animations taking place. There's a book that is needing to be finalized. And I don't know currently how I'm going to be putting it out there. Right now, the plan is to have an actual physical copy of it, because trying to put that online that's a lot of stuff. And I'm a little wary at this point. The more I learn about online and coding and whatnot, the more I'm realizing I really don't want to have all that stuff just easily used by AI to do that sort of stuff. So I would prefer to not have a digital copy. If someone's going to be copying it, I want them to have to put in time and effort rather than just, take the easy route. We also have a game to finish. Almost got it done before life became too busy, and I have to go back and correct the code. And many, many other things. Things that are not necessarily on the list yet that everybody knows about, but they've been on my list for a while. And I try to make sure that these projects get done before moving on to the next, but sometimes during chaotic times I let that slide. And recently has been a bit more of that chaotic time frame, so I've been letting it slide. But anyway, focus, book, animations. Number one priorities. Secondary one is the games. And there is a game I would love to do. I'm not mentioning what it is yet because I've never seen anybody really do this before. And I figured out how to do it with JavaScript. And I want to try and figure out a way to do this a little bit more effectively before even announcing it. Because I have a desire to actually make it into a legitimate game. It's a relatively simple game, you could say, but it would take a good bit of time to figure out. And I don't have that flexibility yet. Take that, buddy. How dare you attack a toy? With a pizza. Hey, greetings there, Jess. How you doing? So this game concept, it's been in the back of my mind ever since I started coding it. Since I started coding with JavaScript. And it really has me kind of curious what's possible. So after the current JavaScript game, once that's finished, that will be the next task with that. And maybe I'll be able to get some help for the other one, because I'm going to need some help with pixel art. And I know a couple people and might even be able to help purchase some of what they can do. But we'll have to wait and see. Oh, you're up there. Well, isn't that a smooth-looking banana? That's a weird-looking cake. Yeah, you trying to snipe me? I'll snipe you. That guy didn't like that. Too bad the creative mode was too buggy for you. You almost had the hammer tag game. I know, which is ridiculous because that's one of the things I think I might be able to figure out a little bit in other coding languages. But man, was it close in Fortnite. Every update, everything just started causing problems. Almost had it. And which is really, really ridiculous. I made a very simple AI bot in, automatic sort of agent inside of JavaScript. Very rudimentary. But I'm like, if I can figure out that, why can't I not get this stupid Unreal Engine to cooperate? All because they put the guardrails up. Oh no. That guy's too strong. Blast. Taken out by Darth Maul. I spent so many hours trying to make that mini game. Because I did a lot of that coding stuff outside of streaming as well. Like half the amount of stuff I coded in stream, and half of it I coded outside of stream. The amount of time I spent on that, I could have actually probably coded a legitimate game for that. That's why I was like, phooey on this. Still think it would be a great idea. Tag the game. I don't quite know how to do 3D, especially multiplayer with 3D. I figured I can figure it out with 2D. I can't figure it out in 3D. Not yet. So it is on the list. Man, I wonder how hard it would be to actually make a multiplayer 3D game. Not a lot of players. Definitely not as many as Fortnite. But I wonder how hard that would be to do maybe a total of 10 players. Players in a tag game. How hard would that be? Because I already know from when I was doing the coding side for the Fortnite one, I figured out how to actually do the functions properly, and I took that and applied it to the JavaScript game. But I don't know how to do multiplayer functions. That part currently thwarts me. Oh no. Really wish there was people to consult on this stuff. I've done a lot of projects where I just kind of have to figure it out on my own. I don't get the chance to really consult people the way I would prefer. Danger leopard. This is not a sniping weapon. But we're going to make it work. Well, that guy was quite determined to come up here. Ooh. Well, that's unfortunate. There's another project that's been shelved for the current, but after the next set of animations, it may be worth cracking out. But I have to get the other ones finished before then. And I played through the idea in my mind, and I think it's doable, but I would definitely need to get help for that one. I can only get so far as one-man crew, as I've said in the past. And I think I know that everybody is like money hungry right now, and so doing volunteer stuff used to be a lot easier. Nowadays you have to pay everybody. I did hundreds of hours of volunteer work. Man, it is hard to get creative people to do that now. One thing that I learned with the creative world is that you really want to pay people per project. You don't want to pay them by the hour. Paying by the hour is not productive. Creative folks have bursts of energy and creativity, and it wanes. So it's not guaranteed to be there constantly. Is you kind of want to wait for them to do their project based upon when they get that strike of inspiration. That goes for me too. Like there's a lot of projects where it's not until like a certain point that it will really start to find progress. But that being said, you have to wait for people to get to that point. So thus the hour wage sometimes works quite well, especially if you have people that are determined and, you know, actually love their craft. But what do you do when somebody doesn't love their craft and they're just doing it for the money? Well, then you got a problem. Then you've run into the conundrum that a lot of businesses are currently finding, where they can hire people and then they learn the hard way that these people are, well, only fair weather creatives. They quit at the first sign of a challenge. Ooh, dryers are active. And there's nothing in there. Quite peculiar. I mean, why have the whole animation, you know, if they're not going to put clothing in there? Oh. Oh, look at that. It's, that's a normal map. So basically, it's not actually moving. That's a texture. I think. The inside might be, but where it's jiggling around like that, yeah, that's just texture. It's actually quite impressive. Would not have thought of that. Never seen that before? Yeah. Anonymous. Mm-hmm. Well, Anonymous. Let's get this over with. Man, you know, this reminds me of year one of college. I got to go to a student film shoot, and they had a car, and they were filming it on a green screen. And learned a lot by getting to see it, but I wasn't allowed to participate in anything. I was not taking the class officially, so I couldn't actually do anything. I took a free class in that sense because I was not allowed to really do anything that wasn't a gen ed. And which was a shame because there's so many things I wanted to do in that class, and the class was gone when I finally got the chance to take it. When I finally reached the year that I was able to take it. Dang, should have moved back or moved forward. Why the waste of the code on the details makes no sense. You audited them. Yep. Isn't that weird? So many things on this map don't move, and they choose that thing to move of all things. Something in a remote part of the map. Rift anomalies are fun. Live with or without them. What I really want is the hammer to come back. But of course, they're not going to care about that. Oh, wait a minute. I just realized. Huh. Audio was gone. Oof. I was wondering why it didn't feel very, feel like the right mood. Imagine if you had an opportunity to create a piece of artwork that everyone's going to see. Millions upon millions of people playing the game will get to see this. And you're tasked with making bushes, you're tasked with making rocks, and you're tasked with making a dryer. And you think, you know what? I want someone to pay attention to my skills. I can see that being a good focus. Now, if you're the company, that is kind of a waste of time. But if you're somebody wanting to shine, well, then that's a perfect opportunity. I did that on past projects for folks that didn't care. And I was told, nobody cares. I cared. I cared because it gave me the chance to feel like I was actually, doing something of merit. That my skills weren't just being wasted. But, of course, Of course, the business world, they don't care about art. Just like get done with that stuff and just press on. I know. Most of the world cares only about money. Most of it. I can't. I have to care about my craft. Otherwise, I will... Otherwise, what's the point? What is the point? That's why it takes me so long to get things done artistically. I want so badly for it to actually matter. To actually... People look at it and say, yes, we understand why you put so much time and effort into it. That person did not put much time and effort into debating whether or not they should attack. Best viewers online, oh boy. Let's see here. Banned. Get out of here, Space Win. And delete that on the restream side. Block that user. Just looked at the shop. New dog sidekick. That's cute. And other new thing of a bug-themed sneaker. What? Bug-themed sneakers? Ugh. I look away for a couple minutes and a bot comes in. Yeah, those bots, they're waiting. They're laying in wait. When they feel like they have the opportunity, they strike. Silly bots. Imagine what would happen if the people that made bots actually decided to go to some big event like TwitchCon and meet people face to face. How do you think that would go, I wonder? I kind of have a sneaking suspicion there might be some fists that would be flying about. Let me in here. There we go. Clicked an item dropped by an eliminated player. Sophisticated. Oof. Wait a minute. Oh! Blue. Wonderful. Swap that out. There we go. I think the dog is supposed to be Shiba Inu. Have to take a look at this dog. Uh-oh. But I do think it would be a fascinating thing to have somebody who makes bots to just show up and then see what people's reactions are. Because a lot of people are going to be furious. But there's some people that are probably going to keep their distance. And then those are the people that are probably buying the bots. And then you would know, like, you know, who's actually making that investment. Ooh. Sushi. Man, I am a fan of wasabi. Like, authentic wasabi. I've only had it a couple of times. And it's not very... like fresh. It's not like the real fresh stuff. I've only had the fresh stuff like once. But it is a wonderful flavor. Rivalry contract. I still think it should have been called Big Mug Shots for that coffee thing. Imagine that you had a business that you created, and it requires you to rip someone off. A lot of local businesses do this, by the way. Yes, if you're up here in Alaska and you own a small business, you probably know who I'm talking about. There's a lot of businesses that will do some shady things. Oh, it's a little baby llama. And what I've noticed is that a lot of places don't really think about their finances, and then they get in over their head, and then they start thinking, hey, all these customers that we were happy to serve and whatnot, you know what? We're not making as much money as we want. Let's start doing something shady. Let's start doing something a bit more extreme. Let's take advantage of people. A company like that, a business like that, really shouldn't be happening. You really shouldn't be something that you want to, let alone brag about or actually pull off. But man, there are a lot of people that have made that sort of deal with the devil sort of idea. And I got to see somebody who did this. He was a local businessman. I don't even know if he's still operating up here in Alaska. And he couldn't care less what people thought or what people he hurt in financially, or the people that he would ruin business partnerships with. Only thing that mattered was that he got his millions. And yes, he did become a multimillionaire. So, it is a bit suspicious as to kind of like how that sort of stuff happened. But if you are so overwhelmed with this idea of finding success at all costs, you will find success. But at all costs means that you're probably going to realize that you made a terrible decision later on. You were not the person I was hunting. Remember, you chose that fight. But what I've noticed with these small businesses, if they don't find that success, they're not going to find it by compromising their values. It may seem like it's going to give you success, but it doesn't. What it really does is it just says that you are able to be bought out. It means that you don't really care about providing a service, and you're probably more in line with a criminal in that sense. Not saying that, people that are money focused are criminals. That's not what I'm referring to. But if you're willing to compromise in order to achieve that success that has eluded you, then you're probably more willing to start to look to those means to pull it off. There is a shop that I saw some time back, and they had no customers. Thought you could get away from me, could you? Your rival. Oh, hark. And we'll give this a try. But anyway, he was a unique sort of businessman. And he was met with the realization that his business was not going to draw in customers. He got maybe a customer a week. Well, how do you run a business like that? If you're getting one customer a week and the product that you're selling is just a few dollars, how do you operate? Well, there's a couple of ways you can do that. And apparently, some of these groups will go down some of these shady routes. Now, I'm not saying this to necessarily pick on small businesses. What I'm more saying is that if you have a business and you can't make it operate without scamming someone or without finding some sort of shady dealings to make it work out, what do you think is happening with the world of bots? See, I probably focused too much on the small business and kind of got away from why I was even bringing it up to begin with. I've seen the small businesses that they cannot operate. But then you look at bots and nobody really thinks twice. They don't realize, hey, you know, these people are doing some shady businesses. They're just like, oh, well, you know, it's a service or whatnot. Let them kind of operate, no problem. And if you're streaming and you have to use bots to kind of cover up for your lack of skill, maybe you would be willing to look the other way. And I know a couple of streamers that have done that. We actually raided one of those people early on. And he was a very interesting fella, because he was a good fella. Honestly, he was a nice fella. But here he was living a lie in order to... oh, darn it. Living a lie in order to try and make it big as a streamer. And he wasn't realizing he was making that compromise that in any other business would be highly scrutinized, critiqued, even legally get him in trouble. But here he was trying to operate in an entire streaming business, thousands of dollars a year, in order to, well, fake it till he made it. A big problem. Oh, darn it. I should have realized he was probably trailing me. Oh, well. Yeah, good guy. He just was, he wanted so badly to find success that he just looked the other way when it came to that stuff until he could no longer do it, and he ran out of cash. Well, you know, look at the shop now. What? Oh, that's great. All the Buzz Lightyears playing. Oh, it's like he walked into Al's Toy Barn and saw them all just break out of their boxes. Okay. Let's look at this pet here. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's okay. I am not a fan of most of the little sidekicks. I can do that one. Mizo. That is oh, what is it? It's Japanese. It's for water, I believe. I gotta check that out. Okay. Japanese for water. Oh, it's a play off of it. Okay, so it's Mizu is water. Miso is miso. Traditional Japanese seasoning. Soybean, salt, and koji. Sometimes rice, barley, and seaweed. Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, golly, I done forgot. Look at that. About Sidekick. Oh, it just gives the details. Okay, yeah. See, most of the sidekicks I've seen, I'm not a fan of. That is cute. Oh, they have the Fox character. Oh, what is that? That TV show that used to have that character. Okay, no, not that button. Oh, it's okay, here we go. Locker. Sidekick. There we go. Ooh, you can pick and choose your color? Okay, gotta go with that. Ivory. Ooh. I'd go with that. Eye color. There we go. Lovely. Next step. Lock in. Customize your doggy. Finish customization. Little miso. Why does it just show the foot when it shows the sidekick? You can only customize it once. Oh, interesting. Well, good thing I... Okay, that... Wait a minute. Edit style? Oh, yeah. Interesting. Probably should have thought about that a little bit more then. Oh, well, that's fine. I actually like that coloration. It's a good dog. There we go. Buzz and Doggy. That's cute. Probably Buggy. A common ramen. That's why the sound is familiar to me. And then you also have miso soup as well, if I remember right. Play within, you can unlock the stuff for it. But color and stuff is one timer. Doggo, where do you go? There you are. Oh, you missed. Oh, guess what? You failed. Here, doggy. Okay, can we come up and pet the doggy? Pet the doggy. Yes, that's right. Buzz Lightyear does a good deed and pets the doggy. And then dance with a platypus. What a weird looking platypus. Buff Perry is such a bad rendition of what Perry the Platypus is. Some pets you can even change if it's chunky or not. All right, we have somebody right there. Darn, they're going to land first. Falling with style. Okay, we're going to land on the crane and then jump into the water so we can get some extra speed on landing. Oh, I missed it. Oh, darn it. Oh, well, whatever. Oh, you had gloves and you chose to... Wow. That was not very intelligent of that person. Pick up that, pick up that. There we go. Good doggy. Off to go and find more vagabonds in which to, beat with our weaponry. These fists of fury. Such a weird image of Buzz trying to drink that stuff. Ooh, blue rod. Actually, I will take that. If only there was a shark to go fishing for. So that guy that I mentioned earlier who was not necessarily being the most forthright with his streaming empire that he was trying to build, it's a shame because things didn't pan out for him. And he streamed for about a year after we raided him. And from the time that we first visited his channel till the point when he stopped streaming altogether, he went from having tens of thousands of views a month, and he went from that to having dozens. Nobody stayed to watch, to the point of where the moment I stopped watching him, we actually had more chats in the average stream than he had for the ones that should have been in the thousands. I remember seeing that and thinking, this guy's been living a lie. And that's gotta hurt. But, it's better to live a painful truth than to live a lie that just grows and gets worse. Which is kind of interesting because a lot of movies tell us that a little lie is sometimes better than a painful truth. I tend to disagree. A painful truth is better than a lie, because that lie only gets worse with time. Put a screenshot of the bug shoes in Discord. Ugh. Oh my goodness, those are gross. Oh, those are weird looking. Ugh. Man, that's yeah, dog, I disagree. Those shoes need to be stepped upon and squished like a bug. Yeah, living living with a painful truth. It's not fun. A painful truth really does weigh upon you. It gets more. It seems worse than it actually is, though. A painful truth at least has a defined end to some of the pain that takes place. But the lie, you're always wondering, is it going to be revealed this time, or... And you're always second guessing. Do we have to be like super careful, lest the lie come falling apart? I just realized there's a banana on this hook. Apparently the fish need potassium. Doggy wants some fish. Oh, too bad I can't feed fish to the dog. Poor little dog. Gotta be nice and quiet with all these fish. Oh, look, the only health. I used to catch those types of fish constantly when I would do this. Now there's a lot more variety to this. All right. We're out. I'm afraid of the rain. Oh. Well. Maybe you shouldn't have shot at a toy. Actually, I think I can drop this at this point. Don't need that anymore. Make sure everything's reloaded. And there we go. What's that? Somebody? Or was that just debris? I'm going to say it was debris. What the heck is that? Wait a minute. Is that this where you get the item? Oh, we're about to find out. Okay, what do I do with this? Let me in. Are they building it? Oh. There we go. Who's shooting at me? I can barely see right now. There you are. Stop shooting at me. Yes. Get out of here, you robots. No one wants your AI nonsense around here. There we go. Look at that. Ooh. Well. Now that is a nice looking sniper rifle. What's the bullet speed on this one? Just like my phone's pinging all over the place. Okay. Apparently there's a video I'm supposed to watch from Dadman here. He sent out to the Squirrel Stream group. Might have to take a look at that here in a moment. I don't think it's something I can put on. I won't share it on stream necessarily until I know necessarily what the permissions are, but probably do that during a break. Oh, hello. You came out of nowhere. What? I didn't even get to use that thing. How very sad. You say sad just when I say Poor Jeff. Yes, poor me, pity me. All right, let me take a look at what this thing is. Unlock Bugs Bunny? Oh, this is a long thing. Okay, that's going to take a while to get through. I'll have to listen to that afterwards. Hey, greetings there, Twig. How you doing? Stop by to say 15 days until my birthday. My sister is tomorrow, and I'm going to bed now. All right. Thanks for stopping by. Rest well, and hope you have a great birthday. God, my phone's still going off. What is going on? GW Games, if you didn't know. Yeah, your name seemed to change a lot. So I was kind of guessing that was the case. But either way, I hope it is a great birthday to you. Dadman says, have you ever been a late night jazz music announcer? What the? Get her done with this. A late night jazz music announcer. I think I missed what that is referring to. I'm perplexed. Jazz music. What does a jazz music announcer sound like? I don't listen to jazz a whole lot. Even though there's a couple ones I find absolutely... I listen to some funnier ones. But, yeah, I'm going to have to check that link that they shared. The other people are in YouTube. Oh, yeah, indeed. Yep, we got the 3 platforms, of which during late nights tend to usually be like one platform or the other is interacting. Okay, let me respond to this here. Possibly. You need a jazz music announcer? And then let's add a GIF with that. Jazz. Oh, no, back up. What happened? Okay, here we go. Comments. Possibly you need a jazz music announcer. And then we're going to add in the GIF of jazz music. What's a goofy jazz music thing that we can put on there? Let's do this just for the sake of it. So the Dadman conversations in your chat. No, it's on X that I got that. He's chatting with me in Twitter DM2. Yeah, Dadman's over on the Twitter side. That's why my phone's been getting all the notifications. I did some voiceover work when I was... I've done it a couple of times. There was an advertisement that I ended up doing it for, and the client really didn't want me to be doing it, but he said it's not bad, but the client doesn't want that. Come back later on. We might use you. And he never called back. But instead, I usually do like report sort of voiceover work, which is kind of bland, needless to say. But hey, people seem to enjoy it. I tuned in just as you say that. Indeed. Greetings, Dadman. How you doing? What is with the jazz music announcer thing? Is that I think I maybe missed some backstory on that one. Oh, dang, that guy's melting, mate. Dang. Person was too good. Check the scroll stream chat for more on the jazz music announcing. Okay, I'll have to take a look at that. Yeah, I saw that there was something on there, and didn't have... I'll have to listen to that later on here, because it seemed like a bit of quite a bit of audio there. But I'm guessing the link is the link that you're mentioning about that Anna shared. Bigfoot sightings and Kentucky horse DUIs. And that was indeed an interesting discussion last night. It was very comical. Do you have any art streams planned in May? Yes, Jersey. When I get back from the business trip that I've been preparing for, got a lot of stuff. Lot of sketches, and hopefully getting the animations finalized. It's been a long time of kind of just doing casual stuff. I have been all arted out, you could say, for the last couple of weeks. Business field trip. Indeed. Among that list of places I'm going to be going to is East Coast as well as Barrow, Alaska. So it's going to be a lot of travel. Well, not a whole lot, but it's a lot of preparation for a very busy time period. We got a bit crazy with the AI announcements about the show. Yes, that link, it's hilarious and accurate. Indeed. I'll have to be sure to listen to that. Yeah, that was a good discussion that took place. So for those people that want to hear a good conversation, it's definitely worth the listening to. And also got to figure out the when I get back from the business trip, that's when I can also figure out the next to the storytelling streams with Dadman. It is been a, like I've said beforehand, a very busy spring. Had to take on some extra roles, and so I've been working a bit more than what I typically would be doing. And so my ability to work on side projects has just been gone. Is Alaska connected to the rest of the United States, or do you need to go through two borders? Canada is between Alaska and the rest of the continental United States. It is a fairly long drive. I've driven on that before, and it usually takes a couple of days to get through Canada. You can also take a boat. You can of course, go by plane. But going by road gives you a chance to really feel like you can connect with the land, you could say. Maybe come across Bigfoot out there. Now, one of the most terrifying recordings of Bigfoot that has audio of Bigfoot came from Canada, actually. And it was when people were driving down through the from Alaska to the lower 48, and they heard it in the middle of this canyon. And man, was it compelling. It was a blast for sure. Now I need to get some sleep, indeed. Thanks for stopping by, Dead Man. Rest well, and hope you have a wonderful start to your Monday. Come here, dog. Want some water? Don't throw water on your dog. Thanks for the links there, Jess. Let me know what your calendar looks like. Yes, will do. And when I get back on, it's the second week of May that I get back, and so I'm going to be going offline for a little bit here, probably starting later on this week. So probably around Friday, I'm going offline for about a week or two, and then we'll be back. I'll be posting stuff on social media and on the Discord and whatnot. But all streams will probably come to an end until I get back. So for those that have an interest in some of the cool stuff we'll be doing when we return, be sure to stay tuned for that, because we do have a lot of stuff planned, as I have continually been, of course, mentioning about for weeks at this point. Notice this season that when you talk to an NPC, they don't give you a med kit or 50 pot anymore. Yes, I've noticed that. It's a very unfortunate thing, especially when you need some extra health. Those NPCs. Troublesome things. But speaking of which, we're going to be switching over to art here after this round. This is the last round, and then we're going to art to do some more sketches. We've gotten a couple of sketches done over the last couple of days. Tonight, we're going to be doing finishing touches to one that we did the other day. And then we are going to be moving on to another sketch. These are short sketches. Oh! That guy was too high on weed to be able to pay attention to me there. There goes my late night background noise. That's how I ended up hanging out. Yep, from the start scaring him. Yep, indeed. Yeah, your background noise will be muted for the time being. Don't worry, folks. That is why we have reruns that you can be able to watch at any time. Not like there's a whole lot of stuff there that you're going to want to be able to hear, but we do have reruns. Speaking of which, there's a channel. I won't mention who it is, but there's a guy that I've been watching for about 2 years now, quite dedicatedly. And he is a fascinating fellow. He has immense talent, but he's also a fairly broken man in many regards. That is not the weapon I want to use. Well, that round went faster than I was expecting. Well, I said that we're going to end after that round, and I am going to hold to that. All right, time to go to sketching. That was not a good way to end that one. Do you see the picture I put in Discord? I will be sure to take a look. Miso drop. Oh, I got to use that. Oh, okay, yeah, there we go. Equipped. There we go. That's cute. I haven't seen the bug shoes. Oh no, I saw the bug shoes early in the Discord. But I haven't looked at them in here. Yeah, those bug shoes are kind of disgusting. They need to be stepped upon. That's what bug shoes need to be done. What you need to do with those bug shoes. Make sure they go splat like every other bug. What a hideous looking little dog there. My dog's way cuter. Yep, there they are. Ugh. Ugh, so gross. Ugh. Blah. All right. Let's get clip paint up and running. And also change the music. Come over here. Yes, get the beaver pressed here. Log in and move forward. Silverado. Music. Boy, there's too many clicks here. I need to fix that. And we're going to go with, currently, because we have a cowboy picture here, we're going to go here. Do you need to go through Vancouver to get to the rest of the U.S.? So Vancouver is actually part of British Columbia. British Columbia has an island called Vancouver. And that is, you go by it. You don't go through it. That's the picture I was talking about. Must have missed your reaction. Yes, I was talking about how gross it is to have bug shoes. How you just need to squish those bug shoes by, stomping your foot on the ground. So anyway, earlier I was mentioning about that there's a streamer I've been watching. And he had a bit of a breakdown. And I remember hearing about him years ago and finding him a bit of a fascinating character. Why is this not moving? Something's weird. Just a second. There we go. Now it's operating correctly. And so this guy had a very interesting style to his streams, and I do feel everybody has like a style that they can really lean into and embrace. And he has a very dedicated fan base. It's one of the reasons why I've been kind of watching him to kind of figure out some of his tactics. And I think I figured it out. And he doesn't do it with hype. He does it through being genuine. Which is kind of weird in many ways because it feels like hype. Well, one day he was streaming and he mentioned he was going to be going he was going to be signing off for the day, and he would be back tomorrow, and it never happened. He just disappeared. There was no warning. There was no rhyme or reason to what had transpired. It was very peculiar. And I became aware of the guy as a result of this event that took place. He had a mental breakdown. He snapped. He had been putting on a false front for so long, and it finally became too much for him. He took some time away, and he came back after years. And then he had, turns out he had spent a lot of time healing in that sense. But yet he wasn't healed completely. And you could tell it, and he admitted to it. And so he's been an interesting case study, because he's what I would say is one of the pinnacle styles of being a streamer. And yet he had such a breakdown, and yet he recovered. There's a lot of streamers, they hit a wall and they just sign off. Most of the time it happens after 2 to 3 years of streaming. We have gone past that time. But it doesn't mean that I myself haven't had those moments. There's been a couple of times where I almost signed off entirely. And I kept thinking, I can't do that. There's something, there's a reason why this is all happening. I'm not going to just rage quit it. But there have been moments where I looked at it and said, this is kind of a lot of effort in many regards. Now, unlike the streamers that are like trying to build up hype, when you build up hype, in the moment that hype is gone, it saps you of energy. But if you're not doing it for the hype, you recover from that a lot faster. It's become something of a fascination to me, because a lot of people who struggle with burnout are trying to build hype, and they can't build hype forever. And eventually they reach that breaking point, and the hype is gone. So when I mentioned about the guy from earlier, like way earlier in the stream, when I mentioned about how there was the guy who had all the bots that was living a lie, he was trying to get hype. He thought by buying bots he could be able to build hype and then eventually, break into the industry. And it never happened. And then finally he reached burnout. He had spent all his money, all the money that he had earned was probably going straight into bots. Because the moment he stopped paying, that's when all just dried up, gone, as if it never existed. Let's see here. Pulling up a reference image here. Bots are so cheap, no wonder people think about them. Yeah, they're cheap to begin with. And then they start to increase the cost slowly but surely. And you know what? Eventually it reaches a point of where that cost flips and they start demanding thousands of dollars instead of hundreds. Because they know that you're hooked. And if you stop doing that, then you lose your revenue stream. Now, what would have happened if that guy had just been genuine? Well, you know what? He would have had to look himself in the mirror and say, I need a job. I have a job. I work full-time at it. I have not gone full-time into streaming, nor have ever thought of that being as a good option. Because I've seen inside the streaming world, and I know how very fragile it is. But I have known people where they threw everything into it, including some old friends, which I found out as of late actually went into streaming. They went hardcore into streaming. And their channel is barely bigger than this channel. And they're like trying to do it full time. I do this as a side hobby, to a side hobby, to a side hobby. My main job is there. Then I have my Castercraft and all the projects associated with that. I have daily life and the things I do in the real world, and then I have streaming. In terms of importance, that's kind of the order of things. Now, I know the second one and the fourth one are technically merged together in many ways. But in terms of importance, that's how I view things. Well, actually, local community would be next up on that. So this is technically third and fourth, respectively. But if you go into it with the idea that I'm here to make money and become famous and powerful, and oh, you're going to get so disappointed. So disappointed. There we go. Man, I do like this part about digital. You can be able to resize something in an instant. Helps out so much. Actually, I need to resize that again. But man, does it help out tremendously. There we go. supposed to be an incredibly oversized rifle for the story. And you will understand why when the story finally comes out. There's some areas in this story I really look forward to being able to tell you guys. Like, it was what made me want to turn it from being a comic into an actual book. So it's almost there. Getting there very fast. Most of them start just to force themselves to draw. Yeah, there's that too. Hey, if people are doing that in art, precisely like you said, art streamers tend to be immune to that, then you're in the clear. If you're doing it for hype and for fame and glory, man, that doesn't go so well. Even I'm considering it as I draw for like 10 minutes, just distracting. Get distracted, and that might be enough for a day. But once you have a schedule and possibility of people watching, you do actually focus more. You can, and at times you can't. Now, you probably realized that I don't do a whole lot of like hardcore art streams anymore. There's a very specific reason for that. The most work I do is in isolation. But you know, there's that does its damage to you. Most of these streams are not about trying to say, hey, look, tonight we're going to be doing this piece of artwork, or tonight we're going to be getting this many dubs in a game or whatnot. Instead, it's about trying to focus on, hey, what is a conversation that we can have? Even right now. The main point of this show is to dialogue. If I wanted to really do artwork, I would go offline. In fact, I made a very big story years ago, and I did it all within 2 weeks. I was not online. I mentioned it to nobody. I just churned through a story from start to finish. And you know, I've actually thought about trying to do the same thing as of late. I've thought about that it would probably be worth it to try and do that for when I have a story and I'm getting close to it being finalized. When we get to spitting distance for the Milo story, I'm going to be doing that. Probably. I'll be going offline for a time frame of about a month, and then I will come out and say, here's the book. But I won't go offline completely. I'll be like, streams like this would disappear during that time frame. And I would probably only appear on other people's streams as out of a, community building. But even so, I would probably be very limited. If you really, really want to get somewhere, that's how you do it. But there are some people, they're so focused on trying to get that hype, trying to get that fame and glory. And they get discouraged when it doesn't appear. But I've been streaming like hardcore. I deserve the fame. Do you? None of us deserve fame. If anything, we all deserve, to never make a dime doing this stuff. And yes, I made $0 this last year streaming. 0. Oh, but the ad revenue and the gifted subs, didn't that work out? Aha. I'm not allowed to withdraw it until I reach a certain point. And then when I withdrew it, it was already passed into the next year. So I literally went through 2025 making 0 revenue doing that. So, if you're somebody who's driven by revenue or driven by fame or glory, that gets really discouraging. But if you're not driven by that, you know what? You probably have a better shot at finding fulfillment doing it. No, you won't get the money out of it, but you will get that feeling of accomplishment far easier. And if you're in it for that, by all means, more power to you. But if you're fame hunting, find a different hobby. Because streaming won't do it for you. Speaking of which, during the summer, we're going to be doing probably a very interesting stream. I won't mention what it is yet. I've been planning this for a long time, and I think I'm ready to actually pull it off. It's going to be a bit of a trip down... you could say a bit of a nostalgia lane. No, it won't be quite what some people are thinking, but it's going to be probably in a similar sort of vein. So if you're here for the early days, you probably know what that will possibly mean. But I won't go into the details until we are within probably about a week of doing it. But either way, I got a very interesting stream that I've been preparing a long time for. And I think we're just about at that point where it will be a reality. Or we're going back into fast mode here. How do you know if a program that is similar to... Do you know of a program that is similar to Moho but cheaper? No. Not for what you necessarily have been looking at. Everything else is subscription based. And I don't count that as cheaper. They usually bite you. The only thing that can do something similar is a combination of Blender and another art tool. That's the only way that I can think of doing that. That's why I found it kind of surprising when you shared it, and why I found that kind of a fascinating tool, because that kind of filled a void that artists have been talking about for a while now. Because right now, the industry is dominated by Toon Boom. And similar sorts of programs. But in terms of rigging for fast animations, no. Toon Boom and Moho are basically it. And if there is another one, it's probably going to be a similar sort of price. 300 is a lot, really. I don't know how they came up with such a price. They came up with it because back a couple of years ago, that was a standard cheap price. When I got started, I had to make a very painful choice. What software to go with? I couldn't buy all the software. I had to buy very specific types of software. I had spent about $1,400 on a laptop, $1,400. It was the best one that I could get. And then I had to make the choice on software. Toon Boom was thousands and thousands of dollars. Maya was close to $10,000. That was because back in the day, you could actually make a lot of money doing animation. You could make a lot of money doing motion graphics, whatnot. But around the time I got started, the whole industry crashed. It was absolutely ridiculous. Overnight, all the work went overseas. Americans were not being hired anymore. And if you wanted to get work, you had to work for dirt cheap. But when you have software prices like that, you can't work for dirt cheap. And so instead, I had to find a different career, different angle to my career, if I wanted to actually stay in the industry. And I was told by many people, get out. This industry is crashing. You're not going to be able to afford it. I'm incredibly stubborn. And I stuck with it. Doesn't necessarily mean I made the right decision. But I made the one that I felt was meaningful. And the industry has not gotten any cheaper. It's gotten worse. It is because now the amount of opportunities you have are so much less. Now you're not only competing with people overseas, you're competing with AI. And it's made a lot of artists very upset because you can't get a break. That's why you have to do it out of the love of the industry and find a way to make it work. But a software that you have to pay thousands of dollars for is what it used to be. Now you pay hundreds of dollars. So yes, it has gotten cheaper. It's just not cheap enough. Laptop is around the price you paid for your laptop. $1,400 roughly, $1,500 actually, but it was a very fair price. True. You're also dealing with inflation. The laptop that you got is probably the equivalent. Well, the laptop I got back in the day was equivalent to about $2,000 to $2,500. Inflation has gone up a lot. Because I found a very similar laptop, and it was a massively expensive machine. But the parts have also gotten cheaper and stronger. So it wasn't a true, maybe it wasn't on the high end, but it's definitely around the $2,000 range if you were to account for inflation. In software, I missed out on jobs because I didn't have the proper software. And so I had to try and find cheaper jobs. I started leaning into trying to do 2D animation for my first commission. And it was interesting. It wasn't great. And it was very... it could have gone places, but it didn't. Okay, so now we're ready to do the official sketch of it. Now that we have this guy blocked out. So now we go to the messy sketch. I did this one with a different style because I wanted to kind of see what was possible. All right, let's make this a grayish sort of pen. Okay. And let's turn the blending mode around. So I'm going to pull this up. Let's. This is one of my favorite techniques right here, but it may not work for this one. We'll see. Save all settings. Yep. We want the blending mode to be on multiply. So now, when we draw, it gets darker. There we go. Wonderful. Let's lighten up that pen. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Now it's like a marker. Let's fade that out a little bit more. Actually, wait a minute. Let's increase the resolution here. I used to be restricted to resolution because I was on the same machine. Now I'm on 2 machines. So I think I can actually pull this off. Image resolution. All right, let's increase the scaling by 2. All right, now we can draw it. So Toon Boom, when it came out, it at first looked like it was going to be very reasonably priced. And it started out that way. It was a great tool. I got a chance to use it for my first commission, and then I found out that the price I had gotten it for was very temporary. And so after one project, I basically lost my equivalent to $800 license. $800 license I could use just for one time. And then they're like, oh, now you got to buy the full license. In fact, it's going to come with a subscription. I'm like, I can barely get a single commission. I can't get more than that. So I started looking for an alternative, and I never found it. I looked high, I looked low. I finally was like, well, 2D animation is going to be impossible, until this program came along. And then I'm like, oh, this is now doable. But it's still tough. And I won't say that it's... I would love to sit down and do like a hardcore 2D animated shot. I have not done one in a long time. And I really have a short that I want to do. It's I've mentioned it before. It's a beaver short. It's a touching story, at least as far as I can tell. It feels like like it could be a very touching story, and I really want to tell the story, and I don't want to tell it with 3D. That's one of the reasons why I've not made a 3D beaver to do this short, because I feel like it can only be done with 2D, at least with a feel that I kind of want. And hopefully, later on this summer, when I do my experiment, I'll get the chance to be able to say, is this possible for the next year? It won't happen immediately, but it will be possible for next year. And if the experiment goes well, then we're off to the races. And if not, well, guess back to the drawing board. I'm still surprised I got it. It was $200 more expensive from the Lenovo that I picked earlier. Yeah. Like how? Probably because, well, there's a lot of reasons. Not even used from shady websites. So you're probably experiencing a sale that's happening in order to try and push the product out in preparation for the new ones. I missed out on one of those sales, and I could have gotten a computer for a very cheap price, and I missed that opportunity. Because apparently, as I found out, you can use AI agents to buy things when there is a sale. So very frustrating that we're in a world that is having a fight with an AI robot in order to get a sale. By the way, I had someone look at this, at Milo's facial features, and they said, "Oh, is that supposed to be you?" Because I have, I do have a similar sort of positioning of facial hair, and the answer to that is no. It was actually based upon an old Civil War photo that I had seen, and it was a guy that had a very similar sort of background to Milo, and so I went with that style. And so there was a couple of different styles that were really popular. This was typical of people that were in the cavalry, or at least a lot of the photos I saw of people that were photographed with the cavalry. And then I was like, oh, yeah, it does kind of have some similarities, but no, that's not the reason why. Black Friday is a bit shady, though, as they raise and lower prices. Yeah, do not trust Black Friday sales. Whenever they do that, they raise the prices a couple of weeks prior, so you don't realize that you're basically buying it for full price. And I used to work at a Target, and one of the things that we did was that. Bring a little bit of darkness here. Guess I need to speed up this process a little bit more. So just by darkening the pen, speed up that portion. Don't have to go over the lines twice. So as we get to summer, part of the experiment is that I'm going to be doing is tied to a lot of the projects from last year. So we did a whole lot of projects, and there wasn't a whole lot of stuff to be shown for it. And as we got to December, I was like, this is getting a little frustrating. I kind of wanted to see more done. And then work got super chaotic, and I wasn't able to actually finalize it. But it did give me an idea of how to actually go about getting some projects done when you have a full-time job. And so over the next few months, I want to try and do an experiment in which I streamline the process of getting some of those things finished. And if it works as I kind of plan, then what will probably end up happening is during the summers for years moving forward is that there's going to be a time period where streams get super, super simple. Kind of like what it's been the last couple of weeks. But most of the time is going to be spent off stream getting big projects finalized. And then there will be a showcasing in which a stream is specifically designed to showcase the final product. And then it is put onto the website, and then we move on to the next thing. Or it becomes a community product, which is, I say product, it's more like just community gift. There's a couple of times where I've done things like that. The JavaScript game is going to be one of those where it's just like, hey, here's a free thing for you to be able to play. I know people will probably play it like once, and then it'll be over. But it's the idea that, hey, there's something here that is specifically designed for the people that tune in. And then there's going to be a couple of ones that are going to be very much designed for a bigger audience, the book being one of those things. But the people who have been the dedicated backers of this thing for so long, this is also a gift to you in that sense. And so there's going to be so I want very much for this to be something where people feel like they had a stake in its kind of inception in that sense. Milo would not be a character if it was not for the involvement of the people that were watching. And there's other things where this would not have existed if it hadn't been for the people that have participated in the streams. And I am not going to shy away from saying that, because I've known a couple of people where once they find a point of where things start getting traction, they just cut off all ties. It's so infuriating. And I got to see that firsthand of somebody who started doing that. And I was like, you can't do this. And he was like, didn't care. Didn't care. It's kind of funny because his business deal actually didn't pan out either. So it's like, yep, shouldn't have even started burning that bridge because it didn't pan out for you anyway. By the way, the reason why this one's more refined than some of the other sketches is because I wanted to see if there was like a middle ground. And so this is a bit of an experiment. If nothing else, it will serve as the foundation for one of the illustrations in the book. It's one of the reasons why I've also been experimenting with doing my own printing. The whole reason why this thing existed is, you could say, was to find out how hard it was to actually print a book. And this is just a booklet. And I figured out kind of how to do the binding technique. I'm like, oh, this isn't so bad. In a world of AI, it's kind of nice to kind of say, hey, look, here's something that's handcrafted. I don't know if I'll be able to do that for the book necessarily. It kind of depends on how many I end up making. But right now, it looks like it's kind of going to be a small run of things in which I kind of gauge about what people's reactions are and then try and move on from there. Do you know any websites that support GIF/MP4 comic panels? Or do I need to set up my own site? That is a very good question. Beware the sites that offer that. And I do not say that lightly. I've known artists and comic artists that use some of those sites and they pay a price for it and they lose a lot of money. It's one of the reasons why I made my own site, because I got so tired of it. Most people make their own site if they have, like, well, they'll make their own sites, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they find success. If you're looking to try and share stories, then social media is your best option. If you want to try and build an audience, you're going to want to do a combination of that as well as your own website. If you want to try and, well, what's the site? Webtoons ended up screwing over a whole lot of their creators, and so everyone jumped ship after that. There's now templates that you can use for websites. You can do that on some platforms like Squarespace. They're not very good, but you at least can do it. I don't advise it necessarily, but it's something that I have seen people use it effectively. But if you're just sharing it for the sake of sharing, social media is probably your best option. But you are going to lose it in that sense. Social media will kind of steal it. Most people that are like hardcore creators, they'll create their own site because then it gives them at least some level of protection. Maybe it's better to post every page on social media. I just wish it was like a like one file. I agree. That's one of the reasons why, again, that's one of the reasons why I've been learning how to code my own site, because I have a very specific plan of what I want to do with it. And that gives me the ability. Takes a lot longer, but at least I will have complete control over it and won't have to worry about potential issues. Well, unless it's things like bots, which I think I've finally figured out. I had someone ask, well, I've had actually 3 people ask as of late if I did tutorial videos. And I replied to each one of them, no, I don't. And I did try early on to start a tutorial channel, and it did not go so well. And there's a very specific reason as to why. It is crowded in the in that field. It is so hard to get established as a tutorial channel. There's a lot of scrutiny that goes into it, and you get hounded by folks. There's a lot of shady business that kind of happens in modern tutorial videos. There's usually a lot of product placement, and it gets overwhelming. And a lot of times they are compromising, and they're just not telling you. And so then they make it look so easy, and then you end up fighting with it. And then they gatekeep knowledge, and I hate that. Oh, I hate that so much. That's one of the reasons why I share about the animation technique that I learned on a tutorial, because I was very upset that he charged $80 just to learn something so simple. And it was stupidly simple as well. But at least I learned it, and now I can mention it and not have to worry about it. I have no loyalty to that, because the guy shouldn't have been gatekeeping something like that. But the tutorial world is very hard to break into. And so when I tried to get my channel started, I was going by the name Fox Tutorials. And then I found out that there's another person that was doing the same branding. But I didn't find that out necessarily at the start. But I shared it with people. And I had a couple of videos that I put out. And it crashed and burned. Then I tried to kind of restart things over here on the Castercraft channel. That didn't go so well. And so I just gave up on that stuff. I was like, well, obviously this is not the field for me. I am completely baffled as to how to go about doing this, and I just called it quits at that point. And I shelved all YouTube work for a very long time. It wasn't until YouTubers reached out to me and said, hey, we want to have you on board, that I was like, okay, we'll give this another shot. But I have thought about that. What if I was to do another tutorial channel? And then I looked into it again. This was a while back. and I realized that the competition has gotten even steeper. So basically, if you're already there, then you will find success, and if you are new, good luck. You really need a shout out to get started. And so it's really not worth it. But then, so someone said, well, what is it that you do with your channel then? Because I do have a very specific kind of foundation for how this channel runs. And it's civility. It's community building. It's projects that... but the main focus of this is dialogue. It is storytelling. And so when you end up focusing on trying to do just that, you can kind of go wherever you want. And it all kind of fits. It's nice, honestly. I should go the other direction for that. Just emailed a big YouTuber like Mr. Beast and asked for a shout out. I did have access to a big YouTuber, couple of big YouTubers. And it's kind of funny how you end up getting shown the door instead. But that wasn't why I got shown the door. It was many other things that kind of went into that whole ordeal and ended up being a mutual parting. But I did reach out to a YouTuber, not necessarily to try and get a shout out. Which, by the way, there is actually a unwritten rule that if you try and ask for a shout out, you get blocked. And I have experienced that. We went and raided some bigger Twitch streamers, and I didn't realize how many people that they had, and I got blacklisted. And I could not... I got ridiculed from them. Like, what are you doing here? Are you trying to try and steal an audience member? Are you trying to get a shout out? And I was like, okay, we're never raiding a big channel again. Not everyone was like that, but it was somebody who I actually really liked watching, and then he did that, and I was like, oh no. And I regretted ever doing that, because he was right in a way. I mean, he didn't know my heart, but he saw that and he just jumped to a conclusion. And I can't blame him for that, because I have had people do that over on this channel. Look, we have 3 people spread out across 3 channels right now. Sorry, 3 platforms right now. There's one on Rumble, which is probably a bot. Sorry, Rumble, if you're not a bot, but it sure seems like that. YouTube has one, and we have one on Twitch. At least it's just registering as one. Jess was here earlier. She may still be out there. I don't know. But right now it's just registering as one. Small time streamer here. Very, very, very small time stream. I'm one of the bottom of the barrel when it comes to streaming. I'm not joking about that. Somebody came in and tried to get a shout out. He joined the stream. I ended up having a conversation with him, and then he was like, oh yeah, I'm really enjoying like what's going on here. And he got on. The first thing he did was his own promotional shout out, and he wouldn't stop for the following like 30 minutes that he was there. All he did was shout himself out. And I was like, oh my goodness, give it a break. And he was a nobody. And I'm a nobody. But he was playing the game. And I'm like, I can understand why people would start banning folks for doing that. I won't. But I will discourage it because, you know, people come here for the conversation. They don't come here to be given shout-outs. Not typically. All right, the hardest part of this is complete. Now on to the rest of him. That's actually looking pretty decent in terms of what I was expecting. Hello, I'm small streamer. Send help. Thanks in advance. Precisely. Oh, that's good. That's good. I don't have a problem giving shout outs to folks. Really. Folks have done that for me. Doesn't usually do much, but they've done it for me. But I also realize that audience members will go to where they want. They're not usually going to go to a place because they got a shout out. I mean, maybe other people are like that, but I am very, very hard to sway. And so when I hear people ask for a shout out, the last thing I want to do is go over and check out their channel. I usually have to know them in some way, shape, or form for me to actually go over and spend time on their channel. And that takes time. So shout outs don't work. Time does. And the more you understand somebody, the more you care about them is when you see how much they care with the time that they give. Okay, I gotta get myself some more water. I'm running a little dry over here. Be right back. Okay, I'm going to go silent for just a little bit of time. I'll be back up and speaking here in a few minutes. Is black and white art easy to learn? Well, kind of depends on your disposition. You know what type of artwork I cannot do very well? It's color. The reason why? I didn't have access to colors when I was a kid. I mostly had just a pencil and a pen. And there I was, wondering how I could get realism and realizing it's almost impossible. The earlier you start practicing with something, the easier it gets for you and the better you get at it. So for me, black and white has become easier for me than color. And if I was to actually make an illustration, a comic book, it would all be in black and white. I would not be able to do the color, and I would have to hire somebody to actually do the color for me. I'm that bad at it. It's one of the reasons why the big artwork of Milo has taken so long for me to do. It's outside my field. It is something so very foreign to me, and I don't know how to do it. Whereas this, I've been practicing black and white for so many years. It takes like no effort for me to at least comprehend how to do it. It may not work, but at least I know how to go about that whole process. I know some of the techniques, some of the tricks, because I've fought with it for so many years. Even through to modern day, it's like I have colored pencils now. I have paints. I do better coloring in the real world than I do digitally. And it's because I'm starting to learn the process in a physical world so that I can one day bring it into here. But it's going to take a lot longer for me to reach that point. I'm not as young as I used to be. And my ability to make that adjustment in style is really, really hard. I heard an actual length of time it would take to make a comic. And, man, it takes a long time. And, that's one of the reasons why a lot of comic artists will actually trace over other people's artwork. Even big-time studios do that. I do not approve of that. And I watched a live stream where this person was drawing for a comic book. And he was suspiciously bad at it. And this was a big time comic book. I'm like, how is it that he's avoiding like some of the most basic elements of drawing? And I think it was because he was so used to tracing that when he had to come in and try and draw it from his own head or from reference, he couldn't do it. It was so weird to watch. And I finally stopped watching after a while. I'm like, okay, this guy obviously doesn't know what he's doing. But he was making a big time product, and he and it ended up paying for a substantial amount of his salary. So, yeah, he apparently figured something out. a life project for some. I kind of like the idea of a life project. You just need to think it through. Avoid life projects. Here's the reason why. If you have an idea this year, that idea will change over time. It will get more and more distant from your original idea. The more you work at it, the more you'll start to see it twist and change. And then when you see the start of it, it's going to seem very different than where the story went. And when you have that happen, the story gets so difficult to follow through with that people that are fans of the early story just give up. And some big-time studios have made that mistake. And it all could have been avoided. All could have been avoided if they just hadn't done that. And so, the way I see it is that it's better to have a project that is 2 to 3 years, maybe 4 or 5 if it's a big project. 1 year is enough for a small project. 2 years for a medium-sized project. 3 to 4 for a large project. And anything bigger, you need to keep it underneath about 7 or 8 years. Now, if it's something like Lord of the Rings, well, then you kind of got to add a little bit extra time to that. I'm not saying things like that, but if I was to make a short beaver animation, something that's maybe 5 minutes, I would have to dedicate about 2 years of life to do that, because I don't have a whole lot of time to do it on a daily basis. But if I was to dedicate it hardcore, I could get it figured out within about 6 months. I do think I could do it within 6 months. But there would be a terrible cost, and I'm not willing to pay that cost. And you gotta think about that stuff before you go through with a large project. But you also don't want something to take forever, because if it goes wrong, well, you just wasted a whole lot of time on a project that you yourself will get discouraged at. Make smaller and go faster. I made an argument about this for the Lego project. It was the final thing that I got to say before they're like, yeah, we don't want to work with you. And they're still working on it. They're still trying to make it work. And every prediction I gave ended up coming true. Well, not everyone. Most of them came true. I've seen the guy that makes a comic, but as a game in Unity, it's stunning, really. It already took him a year to make the base and the beginning of it. You got to be careful about games, because once the game engine updates, it crashes everything, and causes a whole lot of problems. It's kind of funny. I shared that video about to the team to help them understand what it was I was trying to convey. I made it lighthearted and funny just so that they wouldn't get frustrated with it, and they did not heed the warning. And years later, my prediction of that the project would never end is looking like it's going to come true. They had a lot of backers. They had people that were waiting to really help promote their product. It could have given them careers, and they rejected it. It's a shame, really. I really wanted that project to work. Or a guy that makes a short video with motion tracking and Unreal Engine. They literally have like 10 to 15 trackers on them. Yeah. What I wouldn't have given for some of the tools that exist now when I was a kid. We had so many projects we wanted to pull off, and I never could. And now, my stories have changed, and so even if I wanted to go back and try and pull some of those things off, I would have to upgrade them. Because my mind requires them to be a certain quality. Man, I was... I got some humiliation early on for biting off more than I could chew. Lost the opportunity to work with other people because no one wanted to work with me. Because they're like, oh yeah, you always like to try for something that's super difficult. It makes a lot of employers want that, but not other people want to work with you. They tend to hate that because that means you're always pushing the envelope, trying to find something new and impressive to add to what you're working on. Crazy shadow work. Yeah, I'm not super happy with how this is turning out. I've never been able to figure out like a good solution for fabric shading. So I'm experimenting with something that I found that hopefully will make sense the more I do it. I'm trying to do high contrast, so that way it has a little bit extra dimension. The idea is to follow the proper curve of the leg and how fabric tends to fold. But it can make it feel a little bit over the top. And then you start wondering, dang, should I have done the same thing elsewhere? So that's why this is an experiment. Gives me the chance to see how this fares and maybe to use this technique elsewhere. But we're almost at the tail end of what I can do tonight. I'm going to need to hit the sack here in just a moment. So the highlights would be extreme 2 with this technique. Well, pretty much. I've used this technique before. It's not been super successful for the most part. But it is an interesting idea to, work with, to see what's possible. So basically when you do it like this, it's probably best to try and do kind of like with this rifle where it's like the majority of it is dark. I'm just trying to see if there's a way to make this work as is, but I'm kind of not liking how this is turning out. But I am liking some of the elements. It's more like how it is being structured. So I'm actually going to get rid of this. And I'm going to go with something a little bit more subtle. Because we are at the, like I said, tail end of this stream. I can't draw without smearing everything around. Yeah. Understandable. Okay, so we're going to make this a little bit more neutral. Come on. There we go. Hit the wrong button. All right, well, that didn't turn out so bad. Not quite what I wanted it to be, but better than what I was kind of expecting. Especially for the amount of time that it took. It's actually a reasonable amount of time. And I couldn't get faster with that particular style pretty easily. All right, well, we are going to bring this stream to a close. Much appreciated for tuning in. For those that are on the platforms where you can like and dislike, consider doing one or the other. That would be much appreciated. And we are not going to be doing any raids tonight. There's not enough people to justify that. But anyway, we're going to be ending it off there. We're going to be offline for 2-3 days. Then we'll be back for a series of streams, and then on probably next Saturday, Sunday, I'm going to be going offline, probably for about 2 weeks. It may be the following week, I don't know, but it's going to get pretty busy, and I'm going to need to stay focused for it. So, on that note, folks, have a very pleasant evening or morning wherever you are. Just a reminder: be civil to one another. And if you want to see anything when I am absent, and you kind of, for whatever reason, want to hear more of my ramblings, you can always watch the replays of some of these videos, which you can find on YouTube and Rumble, or you can go over to the Dadman's stream, Dadman55 on YouTube, and he has a couple of streams where you can find discussions that him and I have, and they are pretty interesting. You can also find it on social media as well as in the Discord for some of those. But until next time, folks, we will be seeing you all later. Have a very pleasant evening.